Things Not Seen, Day 7. Chapter 22, calls 59 and 60 start Day 7. After I'm home, and after I get Mom off my case for being gone so long, and after I get my door locked and put on some clothes, I unfold the list and flatten it out. I stare at the names and think about how I got them, and I'm not proud of myself for being a sneak thief. But it had to be done, because something had to be done. Can't just sit around and do nothing. And I think about Alicia. I feel like I should call to make sure she got home okay, but she'd probably get all hissy about how she can take care of herself, so I root around in my desk until I find a clipboard and put the list on it. Then I pull the cell phone loose from the charger wire, flop down on my bed, and go to work. My first 58 phone calls to the people on the blanket list break down like this. 13 phone service messages that say stuff like, this number is no longer in service. 8 answering machines that I don't leave messages on. 6 husbands who don't know their wives had done any such thing as exchange an electric blanket and who couldn't care less. 5 wives who don't know their husbands had exchanged an electric blanket and who also couldn't care less. 6 lonely old people who remember something about a bad electric blanket, but who really just want to talk to me about their grandchildren or Wheel of Fortune or the weather or the cost of heating oil or anything at all. 8 people who hang up because they think I'm trying to sell something. 6 kids who don't know when Mom and Dad will be home or who say Mom and Dad can't or doesn't want to come to the phone and could I call back later. And 6 people, 2 men and 4 women, who are actually pleasant and cooperative but had no strange blanket events to tell me about. 58 phone calls and not one hint about anything unusual. That might have happened because an electric blanket had stopped working properly. Mom has gotten over being mad about me going out today without telling her anything. Dad has come home from the lab for dinner, but he doesn't smile about anything. I can tell he's still turning the data on. For 2.5 hours before dinner and 2.5 hours after dinner, I'm in my room going through the names from my crumpled stolen list. I'm lying on my bed, microwaves burning up my brain, running up a killer phone bill. So it's about 9:45, and I make the 59th call. I know it's kind of late, but I skip ahead 2 names to a person who lives in Denver because it's an hour earlier there. Mr. Borden. Yes? Sorry to bother you at home, but I'm doing a survey about your experience with the Sears electric blanket. A blanket? Yes, from Sears. Do you recall exchanging the blanket? Yeah, we had a pink one. It was probably my wife did it. It wasn't really our blanket. It was just left here. Left there? You mean at your home? The man doesn't answer at once. His voice is strained. My daughter, Sheila. That was her blanket. Might I please talk with her then? No, she's gone now. I hear the catch in his voice, and that certain way he uses the word gone. I don't know what to say. Oh, I'm sorry. So sorry, Mr. Borden. I hope you don't mind me asking, but this is pretty important. Do you think your daughter's death had anything to do with the electric blanket? Death? He says. There's anger in his voice. She's not dead. That's the heck of it. She's just gone. Over 3 years now. I feel the hairs on my arms stand up, invisible goosebumps. Gone, you mean like how? Like run away from home? Something like that? The man blows his nose, clears his throat. Don't really know. She dropped out of college, moved back home, gets a job. Then she takes up with some of her old friends, starts staying out late. Came home drunk most nights. Sleeps the next day till noon, gets up, goes to her job at the restaurant, and on like that for about 2 months. Then one night she comes in late, goes to bed, and the next morning, gone. And you haven't heard from her since? Only once. She called, asked could we send her $2,000. $2,000 more than the $4,000 she already stole when she left. Send it Western Union, she says, to this grocery store in Florida. So I did it. Probably stupid, but if you have kids, you know what I had to do. I had to do it. That's about 2 years ago. Since then, nothing, except a note last Christmas. And it's not like it was even a card or something nice for her mother. Just one of those computer messages. My heart almost stops. You mean an email? I guess so. It's just plain letters on a piece of typing paper. Sent it to Mrs. Harlan's house next door. Then her boy made a copy on his computer and brought it over to us. Mr. Borden, it's really important that I talk to your daughter. Do you still have that message your neighbor brought to you? You kidding? My wife keeps everything. Pictures, bits of hair, baby shoes, first tooth, report cards, everything. Tore her up when Sheila left. Could you find that paper for me? You mean right now? Please. If it's not too much trouble, it might be a big help. Hang on, I've got to walk upstairs. I'm on my feet now, pacing. I go over to my desk and open a little notebook. My hands are so sweaty, it's hard to hold the ballpoint. He's taking a long time. There's a click on the line as Mr. Borden picks up in another extension. You still there? Yes, sir. Okay, here's what it says. Dear Mom and Dad, I just wanted to say Merry Christmas. I know I left so suddenly, but I think it was the best thing for all of us. Sorry if it hurt you. I think about you a lot, and I hope I can come home to see you again. Love, Sheila. I don't want to hear all this, but once he started, I can't interrupt. His voice is thick at the end, And when he stops, I say, Mr. Borden, at the top of the page, is there something that has the at symbol in it, a little A inside a circle? It might even say from, and then have a bunch of letters or numbers. I'm holding my breath. Yeah, up at the top. It says from, and then there's something like that. Can you please spell it out for me, just exactly the way it's written? It's not written. It's all typed. That's what I mean. Just the way it's typed. It says apostrophe E-I-L-A-S-H. Then that at doohickey. Then it says G-L-O-W-Z. And then a period. And then net. N-E-T. And that's all of it. Mr. Borden, thanks so much for your help. I really appreciate it. Well, you're welcome, and I hope you can fix this blanket problem of yours. Thanks, me too. I push the button to end the call, and I see the phone wobbling. That's because my hands are shaking. Maybe this is nothing, just a coincidence. But if there's anything at all to find out, I will, because I now have Sheila Borden's email address. elash_glows.net. Her dad probably never noticed that Elash is just Sheila mixed around a little. That's probably the only email he ever got in his life. Dad and Mom are both in the study, sitting in the big armchairs on either side of the tall reading lamp. Dad is dozing, a clipboard with notes and diagrams lying in his lap. Mom looks up from her book and smiles when my clothes walk in. I sit down at the computer and she frowns. It's almost bedtime, Bobby. I just have to use the net for a few minutes. She goes back to her book, and when the computer is ready, I open up a search engine. I find the people search features, and jump around until I see what I need. It's a reverse hunt engine. You put in an email address, and unless the person you are looking for has been a freak about online privacy, that email address leads you right to the rest of their data. So I scroll to the right box and I key in elash@glows.net. I've got her. Sheila Borden lives in Miami. I've got her street, address, and her phone number. When I shout, Dad sits up and his clipboard clatters to the floor. Mom stares over her book at me. What? Oh, sorry, nothing. Just found a cool website, that's all. Because I don't want to jinx this. It's probably nothing, and besides, I don't want to get stuck trying to explain about my field trip to Sears for the rest of the night. Well, it's your bedtime, and you too, David. You've been sitting here snoring, so don't tell me you've got work to do. Up now, both of you. I grab the printout, say goodnight, and I'm back up to my room 2 steps at a time. I shut my door and grab the phone off my bed, and then I stand still. Part of me says, go back down there and talk to the folks. Tell them what you're thinking here. Ask for some advice. But I don't want to. This is my deal this time, not theirs. Part of me says, call this Sheila right now and see what she has to say. But I don't want to do that either. And part of me says, call Alicia. That's the part of me I agree with. So I punch in her number. Hello? Oh, hi, Miss Van Dorn. This is Bobby. I'm really sorry to be calling so late. Could I talk to Alicia? Long pause. Bobby, did you go somewhere with Alicia this afternoon? My head kicks up into overdrive. In 2 seconds, I think, she's asking me this. Does it mean she already knows, and this is a test to see if I'm a liar? Or is she just suspicious, fishing for info? I say, I did see her at the library, if that's what you mean. Because that's true. Now it's her turn to give me another clue about where this is coming from. I'm a pro at this game. I can hear the worry in her voice. She was out almost 4 hours this afternoon, and she won't talk to me about it. Do you know anything else? Aha, the mom doesn't know. She's fishing. This next part has to be just right. Or I'm blacklisted by the mother and hated by the daughter. The first would be an inconvenience. The second would be a tragedy. So I say, if you don't mind, Miss Van Dorn, I don't think it's my place to get between one of my friends and her parents. Nice? No, better than nice. Better than nice. Brilliant. And it hits me. 3 weeks ago, I couldn't have even thought of that, much less said it to somebody like Alicia's mom. Another pause, plus a mom sigh. Yes, I suppose you're right, Bobby. I'll call Alicia. And while I wait, I'm thinking maybe I should become a family counselor or maybe a hostage negotiator. Bobby? Hi, Alicia. Just a minute. Then away from the phone, she yells, Mother, hang up. And I hear the other phone click off. She always tries to eavesdrop. So did my mom. Say anything to you? She asked me if I went somewhere with you today, and you said that I did see you at the library, and then she said you wouldn't tell her where you were for 4 hours, and did I have any information? And then I said I didn't think I should get between a friend and her parents. You said that? I did. And she said, yes, I suppose you're right. You may applaud now, or throw flowers if you wish. I'm impressed. I knew you would be. That's why I told you. Okay, smart guy, so what did you do when you got home? You mean after I dealt with my mother? Of course. I made a jillion phone calls, 58 duds, and then I hit the jackpot. Maybe. Or maybe it's just another dead end. The father of a girl who went to bed one night, and in the morning, she's all gone. Like gone? Don't know. She hasn't been home in about 3 years, but she sent an email to her folks last Christmas, and I got her email address, and then I looked her up, her address and phone. You called her? I wanted to talk to you first. Oh, and then, how come? To see what you think I should say to her. How should I know? I mean, I just I can't just call up and say, I know you had this defective pink blanket and that you left home very suddenly. So tell me, Sheila, are you invisible? I can't say something like that or she'll just hang up. Besides, it's pretty late. Alicia's quiet for about 10 seconds. Bobby? What? Another pause, and then it's her quiet voice. You're very smart. You know exactly how to talk to this woman. I know that. So why did you call me? For the second time during the phone call, I've got to get something just right. First try. Because this afternoon, because it felt like we rode out there to Sears together, and then we came home alone, and I didn't like that. Like it. Silence. I'm thinking I've said too much, or maybe too little, or maybe just the completely wrong thing because I'm an idiot. But she says, that's my fault. But don't think it's because I didn't want to be with you or help you, or that I don't like you, because I do like you. It's because I talked to those people about being blind and working, like really working in a real job at a big company and everything. I mean, some lady at the lighthouse talked to me about all the jobs there are for blind people, but that was like a year ago, and I didn't believe it had anything to do with me. But today, it was different, and it was so new to think about myself that way, and it was scary, and it made me feel alone. It made me feel alone. Oh, she opens her heart to me, and what do I say? I say, oh, I'm so mad at myself because I could have said, but you're not alone, Alicia. I'm here. I'll always be here. And then the lights would dim and the violins would start playing, and I take her face between my hands, and oh, geez, I'm in big trouble. Right away, I say, but it's good what happened to you. Maybe you meeting those people was what today was really about, you know what I mean? Because this Sheila woman and all the other 200 and some people on my list, maybe all that is nothing, like nothing. But what happened for you today, that was real, right? So that's good. Yeah, it was good. I think that's true. Then things feel awkward, and for a second I'm afraid that I might have said that stuff I was thinking right out loud, or else maybe Sheila used her real eyes and she saw what I was feeling, right through the telephone, her real eyes. I say, so listen, I'll call this lady tomorrow and then let you know what happens, okay? Okay. And thanks, Alicia. For what? For today, I guess. For everything. Everything? Yeah. You're welcome. And thank you too, Bobby. For what? Same thing. Bye. Good night. As I get ready for bed and then turn off the lights and pull up the feather quilt, I'm not thinking about my electric blanket and how much I miss it. I'm not thinking about Sheila Borden or about her dad. Call number 59. I'm thinking about call number 60, my call to Alicia. Chapter 23. I half wake up wrestling with a dream. This guy named Hoffman has kidnapped Alicia and locked her away in a tower, and I'm going nuts looking for a way inside. Then I discover a secret panel that looks like thick pink glass, but it's just a hologram, and I walk right through it. Inside, Alicia is chained to a table, and these electrodes are hooked to her temples, and she's straining at her chains, and beams of sharp green light are shooting out of her eyes and burning holes in the ceiling. Hoffman is wearing a caveman suit made out of old brown pants tied on with neckties, and he's got this hands-on power dials, and behind him there are 2 jail cells with Mom in one and Dad in the other. I sit up in bed and force myself to wake up. The clock on my dresser says 9:20, and I know it's Wednesday, and I'm in my house in Hyde Park, and I'm glad all that was a dream. Not that reality is a whole lot better, or less random, and I don't like that image of Mom and Dad being behind bars. I have to shake off a feeling of dread, because if you let it, the fear just keeps coming. I do my best thinking in the shower. It's so odd to see the tiny streams of water bounce around, seeing the shapes of my hands and arms and legs. Warm water runs down my back, and I plan on out my talk with Sheila Borden, because that's the big event for today, maybe the biggest event in my life, and maybe hers too. I turn off the water and drip dry a little, slide back the curtain, and step out of the tub, and there's no towel. I open the door, and I'm about to yell and see if Mom is still home, but I hold the yell just in time because I hear Mom talking down the entry hall, and I know the voice that answers her. It's Mrs. Paget. I creep to the banister at the top of the stairwell. I can't see either of them, but the acoustics are great. The problem? The problem is that I've now heard from the Florida authorities, Mrs. Phillips. They have called and visited the home of Mrs. Ethel Layton and have gotten no response, day or night. Seems your Aunt Ethel has vanished, so we'd like you to tell us where she and your son might be. Mom laughs lightheartedly and says, well, that's Aunt Ethel for you. She's like little flighty sometimes. When I talked with her Monday afternoon, she said Bobby was feeling so much better, she said they might do some day trips, maybe even go up to Orlando. But surely, Mrs. Phillips, you must know where your own son is. You don't seem worried at all. Why should I be worried? Aunt Ethel is my father's sister, and I have known her all my life, and I've known Bobby all his life. They are two very stable people, and I'm sure they're just fine, and when they get a chance, they'll check in. And I'm sorry that this is proving difficult for you and your friends in Florida. Miss Paget takes her time answering. Mrs. Phillips, this isn't difficult. Difficult is when a child is declared to be formally missing under suspicious circumstances, because at this point the full resources of the state of Illinois jump into action, and possibly the FBI as well. When that happens, these things often get into newspapers. It can affect lives and careers. It can get quite messy and difficult. That sounds a lot like a threat, Miss Badger. My name is Miss Paget, and it's not a threat. It's a promise. Mom pauses. Do they teach the people in your agency anything about the United States Constitution? One of the best ideas in the Constitution is that little part about how a citizen shall be presumed innocent until proven guilty. Proven. Tell me, did you happen to bring along another search warrant this morning? No? Fine. Then you have a nice day, Miss Paget. And the front door slams shut. It can't be a good idea treating the woman like that. I'm not sure I like having Mom act like some tough guy from a Clint Eastwood movie. But as with almost everything else these days, it's out of my hands. So I get on with the business of finding a towel. As I grab a quick breakfast, Mom is cleaning up in the kitchen. She doesn't say anything about Miss Paget, and I don't ask. But I can tell she's on edge. I'm glad she has a 10 o'clock class. It'll get her mind off the long arm of the law, and it'll also get her out of my way. 10 minutes later, Mom's gone, and I'm at the desk in my room. I have some notes on a pad of paper. I know what I'll say if I get an answer machine, what I'll say if Sheila picks up herself, and what I'll say if it's a kid or a boyfriend or someone. And I think I know how I can get to her to get her to tell me if she knows anything useful. And as I punch in her phone number, I'm being careful. For myself, I mean. I'm being careful not to get my hopes up. I'm just going to ask this lady a few questions. If her answers help, fine. If they don't, then I go back to the big list and call another 100, another 200 people. Whatever it takes to see whatever there is to see, which might be not just be nothing or everything. Yes? And then a throaty cough. A woman's voice, sleepy. The voice of someone who smokes cigarettes. Sheila Borden? Yes, that's right. Awake now, on guard. I'm calling because I think you might be able to. Are you one of those kids from the Students Against Drunk Driving? Because I already said no to you people 2 days ago. No, it's nothing like that. I'm calling because of something else. I'm calling because I talked with your father last night, and... You talked with my father? About me? Now there's an edge in her voice. Fear, maybe a little anger. No, not really about you, not specifically. And this is the scary part of my plan. Because I've decided to just tell the truth. Because it takes truth to find truth, right? That's what my dad says. And what's the risk? She has no idea who I am. I'm just this voice on the phone. So I say, I called your dad because I woke up one morning about 3.5 weeks ago, and I was gone, just like you. Tick, tick, tick. Then she says, what are you talking about? You got up one morning and you ran away from home? And I notice she's not hanging up on me. She's thinking. I say, I didn't run away from home. From school, yes, but only kind of. I pause, because I want her to have time to think. I was just gone. She's angry now. Is this some kind of prank? I don't believe you talked to my father. Anybody could call anybody and say that. What's his address and phone number? I'm ready for that one. I read off the information. Okay, so you talked to my dad. So what? What's this got to do with me? How come you're calling? So I use my big question. When I say that I woke up one morning and I was gone, what do you think I mean by that? Just the slightest hesitation. Then she says, how should I know what you mean? Just take a guess. That's all I'm asking. First guess? Like I said, that you ran away from home. Nope, guess again. You didn't know who you were. Amnesia or something. That's closer. Guess again. Hey, you know what? Goodbye. That's what. And she slams her phone down so hard that I hear it bounce off onto the floor. Hear her swearing and grabbing for it, and then a second slam. And the line goes dead. And I'm afraid I've lost her. Really afraid. I punch redial. 2, 3, 5 rings, and the answer machine picks up. It's her voice on the message. All bright and cheery and efficient. This is Sheila at Elash Technical. Leave a message or send an email from our website, elash.com. That's Elash, EILASH.com. Bye. Then there's the beep. And I'm rushing. I'm rushing to say everything. And I'm talking way too fast, and I'm probably saying too much, but I don't care. Sheila, I didn't mean to get you mad or anything. I'm just trying to find something out, because I really did wake up that morning, and I really was gone. Like I couldn't see myself, that's what I mean, and I'm trying to figure it out, and I have to figure it out. I have to. And I just thought that if she picks up the phone and I hear her answering machine click off, there's a deep tiredness in her voice, a weariness. You can't just call someone up and say, I've turned invisible one day, can you? And I know, I don't believe it yet, but I know. I go, and I feel tears at the corners of my eyes, because it's like I'm finding a lost sister or something. Like a reunion with my army buddy, An old Greek warrior. So it really did happen to you too? Almost a whisper. Really? Then how did you find me? So I tell her, and she's blown away. A blanket? That's so wild. A blanket from Sears? She pauses, then, oh man, we could be talking about a big lawsuit here. Sears, for God's sake, big money. Do you realize that? Millions. She wants to talk. I can tell that. But I look at my notes, and I have to keep to my own program. So, can you remember the date that it happened to you? She laughs, and there's bitterness in it. What do you think? Of course I can. January 12th, 3 years ago. Hard to forget a day that totally scrambles your life, don't you think? And then she needs to talk, and I listen to her whole story. How she panicked that morning, how she started to tell her parents but then stopped. She actually lived at home 3 days after it happened. She saw her parents crying about her. She lived in her own room, learned to sneak around, learned how to carry small stuff between her arms and her rib cage. She stole her dad's savings account information, went to the public library, used the internet, transferred $4,000 into the account she had used at college. Then she set up an account for herself at a bank in Miami and transferred the money there. She stole it because she didn't know what else to do, which tells me a lot about her and about me, because the first thing I did when it happened was tell my parents. She didn't feel like she could do that. I asked, why Florida? Why do you think? Ever try walking around naked in Denver in the wintertime? And I see why she went south. She took a plane, just rode the bus to Denver International, found a flight that wasn't too full and walked on, sat up in first class and stole food from people who were sleeping. At a public access terminal in Miami, she found a cheap apartment and paid the deposit electronically. Didn't you have to sign papers or something, like in person? Ever see a Muslim woman completely covered in a black veil? That's what I did. No one even blinked. I wear it when I go grocery shopping too. That's a pretty good-sized Islamic community. There's a pretty good-sized Islamic community around here. The only bad part is when I'm at the supermarket and another veiled woman comes over and starts yakking at me in Farsi or Urdu or something, and all I can do is nod and say, salam. But other than that, it works great. For the past 3 years, she's been earning good money designing websites. She's bought a fast computer that was delivered to her door, bought some good software, and learned how to use it. I had plenty of time, know what I mean? And the internet, it's made for people like me, like us. You don't ever have to go outside if you don't want to. I find design jobs on the net. I work at home, I upload my projects over the net, and I get paid by direct money transfer into my accounts. Works great. What about, like, friends? She laughs, but there's a hollow sound to it. You mean like a boyfriend? Not a chance. I didn't like men that much back when they could see me, and they didn't like me so much either. I used to miss hanging out with my girlfriends from back home, but I'm over it. I had a parrot for a while, but it died. So this is simpler. I do my own thing, and that's all there is to it. What about doctors and dentists, stuff like that? The only thing I worry about is if I get really sick. I had the flu last winter for about 2 weeks, and I almost thought I'd have to go to the hospital. But I just took a bunch of aspirins and toughed it out. How about if things got serious? I thought about that. First, I'd find a very rich woman doctor. The richer, the better. And I walk into her offices wearing my black outfit. When we're alone, I'd remind her that she's required to keep my condition a secret, and I'd make her sign a promise of complete medical confidentiality. Then I'd take off my veils, and if she ever broke a promise, I'd sue her right down to her pantyhose. This lady's definitely a Greek warrior, only she's probably tougher than the guys were. So, no other friends? 2, both women. People I can trust. But that's enough. Never had all that many friends anyway. How about you? Kind of the same. At first it was just my parents, then I started talking to this blind girl. Interesting. I thought about that too. So does she know? Yeah, but she's been great about everything. And her parents too. So how long has it been for you? Less than a month? Uh-huh. But I think there might be a way to reverse it. At least that's what I'm working on, and I now found you. If we figure it out, you'll be the first to know. So you really think there's a way back? I hope so. Well, let me know, okay? Absolutely, I will. What's your name? Bobby. Bobby Phillips. It's nice to talk to you, Bobby. Yeah, it was good to talk to you too. I don't know what else to say, and I'm about to sign off. Then she says, Bobby, you have to promise me something, okay? Sure, I guess so. What? I don't want you to tell anybody about me. Nobody. It's kind of too late. I already told Alicia I was going to call you. She's the blind girl. But she doesn't know anything else about me, right? Yeah, so keep it that way. Don't tell her. Tell her you couldn't reach me or something. Tell her I'm dead. Tell her whatever you want to. I don't want to lie to her. She'll keep everything a secret if I ask her to. Easy for you to say. What if she decides she needs money 2 years from now and she rats me out to some sleazy supermarket tabloid? Then what? Then I'm screwed, that's what. Alicia's not like that, remember? She knows about me too. I trust her. But maybe that's because you're young and don't know any better. Or maybe you're stupid or something. I'm about to start shouting when she says, "Sorry, I don't mean to sound so nasty about this, but I've had to move twice in the last 3 years because I thought I could trust some people. Things like that happen, and it makes you pretty paranoid. Well, look, if you've got to tell this girl, then I can't stop you. But don't tell anybody else, and make her promise to keep it secret, okay? It's important. Do you understand?" "Yes." "And you promise?" "I promise, and I know Alicia will too." "Good. So, good luck. I hope everything works out the way you want it to." "Thanks. Me too. And I'll get back in touch if there's any news." After we say goodbye, I flop onto my bed and look at the ceiling. I need to take stock of what I know. 3 years. She's been gone for 3 years. So this is not a temporary condition. That's one thing I know. This condition did have a specific cause, and the blanket is part of it. I'm sure of that now. But the blanket's not all of it. If it was just the blanket causing this, then more people would have been affected. Then again, maybe more were, and I just haven't called them yet. And I know that it happened to Sheila on January 12th, 3 years ago in Denver, Colorado, and it happened to me February 23rd, both in the winter. Duh, big coincidence. Winter is when you use an electric blanket. But still, I've got 2 locations, 2 blankets, and 2 dates, plus 2 invisible people. And lying there on my bed, tracing the maze of cracks in the plaster on my ceiling, I face a fact. What I've actually got is only slightly more than nothing. Chapter 24. Any physics nut will tell you that there's nothing. I've been hearing this from Dad all my life. Now I get it. For example, split the atom and you get neutrons and electrons and protons. Keep splitting and you get neutrinos and quarks and muons and antiquarks and mesons. On and on, smaller and smaller and smaller, less and less mass, more and more energy. It all gets down to the little things, like 2 blankets, 2 cities, 2 dates, and 2 people. After I talk to Sheila, I don't see how the facts can add up to anything, but it's never just about the facts. Sherlock Holmes proves that, case after case. It's all about what you do with the facts, how you look at them. When I do an instant message to Alicia on Wednesday afternoon, she starts right in asking me a million questions about Sheila. How did she react? What did she sound like? Was she happy? Does she have a boyfriend? Is she excited about finding someone else like her? On and on. Instant messaging with Alicia takes forever. It's not the connection, because she's got one of those lines that's always connected. It's because the text-to-speech function on her and has to say everything out loud before she can type back an answer. Finally, I have to shut her off because I need to just think about what to do. But Alicia doesn't want me to think about it. She wants me to call my dad and tell him the news, and then have my dad call her dad so they can talk about it. Bobby, 7272. No can do. I promised Sheila I wouldn't tell anyone about her except you. And I told her I had to tell you. Alicia, had to? Why? Bobby, isn't that obvious? Obvious? Alicia, maybe. Tell me anyway. Bobby, I told her I wouldn't lie to you. Alicia, so touching. Still, you have to tell your dad and my dad. They can help. Bobby, I'll think about it. Alicia, don't think, do. Time's up. It's time to do. Bobby, don't be bossy. Alicia, do. Bobby, gotta go. Alicia, coward. Bobby, am not. Alicia, R2. Bobby, am not. I don't want to break a promise. Alicia, so just give the dads the info. Don't give the source. But they have to have the info, and maybe more. You might have to call your girlfriend back and talk real nice to her. All kissy. Bobby, ha, so funny. Alicia, so call your dad, okay? Alicia, okay? Alicia, Bobby, you answer me. Bobby, okay, bossy. Alicia, flattery will get you nowhere. Bobby, I'm already nowhere. Alicia, so true. Bobby, bye. Alicia, let me know. Promise? Bobby, promise. Bye, bossy. I start to dial Dad's number 3 times, and 3 times I stop. I found this woman, not him. It's my discovery, not his. But after I wrestle with it for about 5 minutes, I know I'd be stupid not to tell him. And I'll be still be the one who found her. That's not going to change. When I reach Dad at his office and tell him, he almost goes nuts. What? You're kidding. This is fantastic, Bobby. Hold on. I've got to shut my office door. Then comes the hard part because he wants to know everything, but I'm not telling. Dad, I promise to protect this person. So all I know right now is that it happened in Denver, Colorado on the night of January 12th, 3 years ago, and the same kind of blanket was being used. And this person is about how old? Does that matter? Could, Bobby. Everything could matter. Like what kind of house it happened in, any other appliances in the room, the exact location of the house, everything could be very important. Well, all I can tell you right now is the date and the year and the place. If we need more, I could maybe call her back and, aha, so it's a woman. See, that could be important, because men and women have different chemical makeups, different muscle densities. We need more data, Bobby. The more, the better. Dad is giving me the third degree, major interrogation, and it's really ticks me off. For the past few years, I've just been gritting my teeth and kicking my door and swearing under my breath at him about stuff like this. I know he's excited. I know that the guy lives for data. But here I am. I'm telling him I've made a promise, and he acts like that doesn't matter. I'm about to shout something and slam down the phone, but instead I get this calm feeling and I say, real quiet like, Dad, this lady wants to stay out of all this, and I promised her I'd respect that. So I'm not telling anyone, not even you. When I make a promise, it has to be real. I guess must have sounded like the president or something, and it's so quiet for a second that I think maybe he fell off his chair. Then he says, of course, you're right. Sorry, Bobby. We'll work with this and see where it leads. Quite right, son. Have to keep your word. And it's like the whole world has shifted about 10 feet to the right. I'm not where I used to be, and I see it. And Dad sees it too. And he sees me seeing him see me. Anyway, he says he's going to call Leo. That's Professor Van Dorn. And he'll talk to me tonight when he gets home. Then he says, I don't know how you located this woman, Bobby, but it's not a small thing. This is the first class work, son. First class. It's the tone of his voice that gets me. He doesn't say, I'm proud of you. He doesn't use those words. But that's what I hear. My dad's proud of me. Chapter 25. Bingo. Relational database analysis. I had never even heard those words until Dad comes home from the lab and starts making dinner on Wednesday. He's got my invisible hands busy chopping celery and carrots while he cuts up chunks of chicken for a big pot of soup, and he's gushing about this talk with Dr. Van Dorn. The professor says he was sure the blanket was part of the cause. He's all excited because he says he can do tons of research just using those 2 dates and the 2 locations. And that's because of this relational database thing. Condensing 15 minutes of Dad talking as fast as he can into about 4 sentences. This kind of data hunting is basically like using an internet search engine, except it's more precise and it uses monster computer power, like Cray supercomputers, the real deal. So you load in your data, you give the search program some clues about what sort of results you'd like to look for, and then you push a button. And it combs all these scientific articles and catalogs of events and phenomena and facts and theories, and if anything matches up anywhere in the scientific records in any language, anywhere in the world, it finds it and spits it all back at you. Pretty cool. But you have to know how to program the thing, or else you could get swamped with junk data. And who's one of the top people at doing this kind of search? Our pal, Dr. Van Dorn. An hour and a half later, when we're just sitting down to eat homemade chicken noodle soup, the doc himself is pounding on our front door. He walks right in, puts his old briefcase on the dining room table, yanks it open, pulls out a stack of wide green bar computer paper. His eyes are wild, and he's talking so fast that little bits of spit are flying around. This has got to be what we're looking for. I ran the search for 4 different ways, 4 different sets of parameters, and the same data from the ACE spacecraft project kept showing up. Ready? Solar wind. January 12th and February 23rd, 3 years apart, and on both dates, the upper latitudes of the U.S. from the Rockies to the Great Lakes were strafed by a major burst of accelerated solar particles and radiation, the kind that knock out power grids and send the big jets diving for lower altitudes. Not true solar maxima or anything, but the bombardment on both dates was way, way up on the scale, and the Earth's magnetic field was significantly distorted. So, Dad's looking over the professor's shoulder, nodding, his dinner napkin still tucked into the collar of his blue dress shirt. So this blast of high-energy particles cuts through the exaggerated electrical field caused by the faulty blanket controller, and bingo, no more Bobby. Exactly, and of course we don't really know how or why, we're a long way from really understanding the interaction of the forces, but I'm almost certain we know roughly what caused it. We've got a strong electrical current field, magnetic disturbances, and an extreme particle flow. Has to be it, don't you think? Has to be. Dad is nodding, and his eyes have a faraway physics land look. Mom asks what I'm thinking. But Leo, how can we reverse the process? How do we get things back to normal? And how do we do it before the police come to haul us away? Dad and Dr. Van Dorn look at each other just for a second, and it's like they're holding this high-level silent conference, and I see everything, and it's almost like I hear them talking back and forth. Incredibly complex. Possibly years just to develop a workable theory. Hundreds of variables to isolate and test. Not to mention questions about body chemistry and environmental factors. I can see this kind of stuff flashing through their minds. Then Dad says, hard to say, Emily. Maybe a week, maybe longer. And the look on Dr. Van Dorn's face says, maybe years. I see it all. I can't take it, and I'm not hungry anymore. I push my chair back and stand up. You're not being honest, neither of you. If you found the cause, really figuring it out and reversing it could take forever. And we don't have forever. I am now wanted by the law in 2 states, and Dad isn't going to get to do much research in jail. So tomorrow we call that lady, and we get her over here, and we tell her. Then we tell the university and the people who run Firmalab, tell everybody, show them. Then we don't have to act like criminals. Then there'll be tons of research money and facilities, and we can really figure this thing out. Dad looks at me, and the space above my collar where he guesses my eyes are, and there's so much sadness in his voice. Bobby, Dr. Van Dorn, and I discussed this situation when we spoke this afternoon, and we both decided that we do not want this to become public. Not ever. It's too dangerous. I mean, it's not like the Manhattan Project or anything, not like developing a nuclear weapon, but still, this kind of science can hurt people. Do you want invisible soldiers and police and spies all over the place, or invisible criminals? Can you imagine the level of security we'd all have to live with if this technology becomes widely known? And even more important, do we want to sacrifice any chance for you to eventually have a normal life again? We've each promised to keep this an absolute secret. Just our 2 families. The business with the police will go away. It has to. They can't prove anything. No motive, no crime, no evidence. Your mom and I talked, and really, all we've done wrong is lie about you going to Florida. And we can just say we did that because you'd run away and you wanted to have time to come home. We wanted you to have time to come home without any penalties or bad effects on your record at school. Parents can't be punished because the kid decides to run away from home. So we just have to change our story. I'm sure this is the best way. We are all sure it is. During this speech, it's like I'm in a time machine. All I hear is what I've been hearing for 15 years. Everyone else has decided what's best for me. They're all sure. They've made up their minds. And now they're telling me. They're telling me how they've decided my life will be. I'm a runaway. I'm a fugitive. I'm a milk carton kid. I'm officially missing. They've decided. My jaw muscles tighten. I feel my face twist. My hands clench. They have such a grand plan for me. I want to scream. I want to froth at the mouth and swear and stomp my feet and break up some chairs and throw chicken soup all over the place. And I want to yell. It's my life. You can't leave me out of my decisions about my own life. You're not in charge here. But I control myself. In a calm voice, I say, I think I need to get some rest. I'll eat later. As I leave the table, Mom looks suddenly worried and Dad looks confused. Dr. Van Dorn seems embarrassed, so he looks down at his precious stack of data. And I'm alone in my room. Alone. Mom and Dad are down there, spoons clinking on their bowls, ladling out soup for the uninvited dinner guest, their fellow conspirator. And I'm alone.